Viewer Hot Takes. I'm Will, that's Brandon. We are the cousins, the Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers, talk about some wrestling, huh?
Yeah, we're going to give this a shot. We've been doing this for a while now, and I mean, we love the differing opinions, so why not just, I guess, give our takes on your takes?
Yeah, we went through comment sections in all of our socials on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on all of it. Found some hot takes that are relevant to the times now. So we're not. It's not going to be a The Rock was beating Stone Cold. I don't know, but how we're going to do it is I'm going to read a hot take. We're going to give our opinion on it and whether we agree or disagree.
Okay.
So let's rock right into this.
Let's give it a shot.
First one. Judgment Day is controversial. Judgment Day is controversial as of late, kind of ever since SummerSlam when Damian dropped that belt, when Finn and Dom made their heel turns. I guess Dom's heel turn.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said. He said, "I'm the first heel to ever turn heel." That's what Dom said. Anyway, they've been a sketchy topic on the interweb ever since. Everybody has an opinion on it. Hot takes that our viewers have said a bunch. They want Judgment Day to end sooner than later, kind of ASAP. How do we feel about that?
God, oh man, I'm conflicted on that one. We're starting out hot already. I don't know. I'm going to say yes.
Really?
I'm going to say yes. Maybe not on Raw, but I need to see it sooner rather than later. I need to see JD and Finn kind of break up. I'd like to see Liv kind of reestablish herself, and I'd like to see Dom establish himself. As much as I've really liked some of this stuff, it all comes to an end. Now, do I think it comes to an end soon? No. I think there's a big, long story at the end of this. We won't get it for a long time, but I would like to see it end so I can take some, importance, care about the individual stars of Judgment Day. I found myself, the collective is really kind of, in my eyes, as of late, been brought down, and I'd like to see that again, and I feel like you kind of only get that if you do that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I disagree with Judgment Day ending soon because I think that everything you just said should happen even though they're in the faction together. You can establish each person as a being while they're in a faction. Mm-hmm. It's happened with every great faction ever. That's just been a thing that WWE used to know how to do well. And they did well the first round with Judgment Day. It's just been a little bit iffy with this new Judgment Day. Mm-hmm. But there's still time there. And I mostly disagree with ending Judgment Day soon because the combination of outside factors that are happening. Netflix is coming up, which means 2-hour shows all the way to Netflix starting in October. Means not a lot of screen time to get everybody on it. And when they're in a faction and they're feuding with the Terror Twins, that's a good way to get some of your top stars out there all at once doing something together on TV in a 2-hour time period. We see SmackDown kind of sprinting through stars sometimes, like Chelsea only getting a couple seconds or Bianca and Jade only getting a minute of interview. 2 hours is going to be a challenge, and so you need Judgment Day to be there and be a thing. Whether they're putting on their best work or their mediocre work, you just need them on screen. So I'm looking at it through that way. But yeah, I mean,
I couldn't agree with more with kind of what you said. My only thing is I want them to kind of break up because I feel like we've kind of lost our way with this new Judgment Day. And as much as WWE, like you said, they do put a great emphasis on each person on factions coming out better, I feel like they've kind of lost their way with this one. And that's the part I'm more worried about. So that's kind of the only reason why I say that. But like I said, I don't think it happens anytime soon.
Yeah. We'll move it on. Speaking of Judgment Day or somebody attached to him, I guess she's in the Judgment Day. Liv Morgan. Liv, man. She gets numbers wherever she goes. Good, bad, right in the middle. Our viewers seem to be right 50-50 with her. You get a big fan base with her, and then you have 50 that are like, nah, I'm a Rhea person, or nah, I'm just not interested in Liv Morgan. Yeah. So the hot take that has been floating around has Liv Morgan's title reign has been awful. Agree or disagree?
I would agree with that. I would agree with that because specifically when we talk about the title reign itself, the title reign itself is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
In terms of bringing the importance to the title, there's not a lot there. I understand at the end of the day, it's going to be about the title, and they've kind of shifted gears a little bit about you took my title, I never lost the title. They've kind of shifted gears a little bit, but for the most part, while Liv has been the champion, the importance hasn't been on the title. It's been on Dom.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and agree, not for the reason of hating on Liv or anything. I think she's phenomenal as a character, and I think that her in ring is great. I have nothing against her. But yeah, all the points that you brought up are there. Minimal title defenses. Most of her story is about the Dom stuff, which is totally fine, and that story's been great. But in terms of the world heavyweight title on her, it's kind of just on her at the moment. Obviously, she's fighting Rhea for it, but that was the person who she was fighting for at the beginning of the feud, right? And then we had like the Zelina, and she got it from Becky and stuff like that. But ever since she won it from Becky, it just kind of feels like it's on her.
Mm-hmm.
Like her character work is great, and the story around her has been great.
Mm-hmm.
But the belt kind of means nothing in terms of the story. It's just the thing in which Rhea is going after now.
Yeah, and like I said, they've kind of shifted it a little bit, but they also still do a blurred lines. Like Rhea's kind of more set on the title now, more focused on the title, but for a few months it was Dom.
Yes.
And the title didn't really have importance there for a while.
Yep. We'll move it right on. Getting right through these. We're sticking to Raw. Braun Breaker. All these dogs barking. Oof, 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 oof. Dogs been real quiet since Pat McAfee left,
Yeah.
Well, the crowd's gotten louder, but
I do miss that.
Come on, Joe Tessitore. I need you barking. Anyway, Jey Uso. Popular guy here. Everybody on our, most people, I'd say 75%, 85%, they want Jey Uso to beat Braun Breaker for that Intercontinental title. ASAP. Agree or disagree?
I fought with this one a lot. I'm going to disagree. My gut instinct is disagree. I could see WWE doing a quick thing where it is a quick win. Let me get it back. Let me win it back. Like a quick drop like we always talk about. I could see that. That is the only way I see this happening if Jey does get the title. But for me, like Braun has been the badass of, lack of a better term. He's been the badass. He's been that guy. He is the future. Like you see his progression. You see him continuing to grow every week, even if it is just backstage segments. I feel like a lot of steam would be kind of taken out of Braun if he just loses to Jey. Now they've kind of dropped some hints where he repeatedly says like, well, nobody in your family's beating my family. That worries me a little bit. But when you look at the two, when you look at the in-ring ability, people might say Braun Breaker just does spears. Braun Breaker is more believable than Jey Uso. He brings that tenacity. He's destroyed everybody. He destroyed Ricochet. He destroyed Ilya. He destroyed Sammy. Like it would be hard for me to sit here and be like, okay, yeah, Jay's going to beat that guy.
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree with Jey beating Braun. For all the reasons you just said and more. Like I like Jey. People think that we don't like Jey. I love Jey. He's fun and whatever. His entrances are as good as it gets. His character work. A lot of people say he's just a yeet guy, but it works for the man. Like it just works and he's funny and he can really be himself in that role. So nothing against that. But like you said, Braun Breaker has established himself this year as being the guy who destroys, foes greater than Jey Uso, in my opinion. Like to me, like I know Jey just pinned Ilya, right? So I shouldn't look at it that way, but there was a point where Ilya felt like a bigger opponent than Jey, right? And Braun murdered him to the point where he won by KO. Like Braun just is on the path of trying to be almost like a Brock Lesnar, a mid-card Brock Lesnar, in the sense of like this is his title and he's going to run through anybody who gets in his way. And as hot as Jey Uso is, and he is, I just don't think that, he, as much as we say Jey Uso needs something, he's so hot that you don't need to rip the belt off of Braun Breaker to keep him hot. Like they can put on a show and Jey still have that heat. And so I just think that Braun should keep it. There just really isn't a reason.
Yeah, like I said, I think the only thing they do is if Jey does win it is a quick drop back, which maybe then isn't, I don't know, that isn't maybe terrible, but it would still leave a bad taste in my mouth initially. You talk about Braun's opponents. Sammy, who's now challenging for the world title. I think the route they go with Braun Breaker is kind of what Sammy talked about that Gunther did, that he holds that IC belt. Then whenever it is that time, he does drop that and he shifts into that world title picture. Yeah,
agreed. Anyway, let's move it to SmackDown real quick. This is a quick one. SmackDown logo.
The good or bad?
They don't like it. They don't like it. You agree or disagree with
Can
that?
I give both?
You want both?
Can I go agree and disagree?
Okay.
I'm going to agree. I'm not the biggest fan of the whole SmackDown, the whole thing. But when it's just the S and the D,
Oh, the S is nice.
like the S with like the little D,
Yeah.
I really like that.
I love how during the night they were like, it was like this person versus this person with the S in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It looked
Or
really
like,
clean.
or even like, I can't remember who it was, but they were like panning to the stage, like the entrances, and there was just like the S and the D like on top of each other in the middle. And I was like, it's nice, it's simple, it's clean. I really like that. The SmackDown logo itself, I guess I agree that it just doesn't pop for me. It's just like, okay, it's a logo change. But the S and D really does do a lot for me.
Oh yeah, the short form logo of it is sick, like you just said. I disagree. When I first saw it, hated it. I like right on impact, I was just like, ew. But it quickly 360'd me, and by the time the show took off, because the logo leaked, hours earlier. But by the time the show came on, like when the show came on, I was like, that's an awesome logo. My only critique is not even critique. It looks weird against the Raw logo.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like the SmackDown and Raw logos kind of had similarities in like font a little bit to where they looked like they were related in some sort of way. But the SmackDown logo looks like completely separate. It's like this is like a Tesla versus like a Ford logo, like the tried and true Raw logo, right?
Yeah.
Versus this like space SmackDown logo. But
yeah,
it's fun. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't be offended if people are like, I like it or don't like it. It's a logo change. I will say it's better than some of the ones they've had previous. So bare minimum,
SmackDown Live is the worst.
Bare minimum, I can give them that.
The SmackDown, that logo is gross. All right, let's keep it to SmackDown. Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
Cody Rhodes. We love Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
I want his robe that they're selling now on WWE.com.
Somebody want to buy it for us?
Yeah, send us a $450 robe, please. I will wear it every podcast for the rest of the entirety of it. I won't even wash it. Anyway, Cody Rhodes. This isn't about being, his title reign is bad or whatever, but people are saying Cody Rhodes should drop that title before WrestleMania. Agree or disagree?
I would. Oh man, I almost.
I'll go first on it. No, disagree.
You go first.
Disagree. And this week's SmackDown just kind of proved it to me of just like there are two main money makers on the current roster in WWE to me. Like there is CM Punk and guys that are just big time, but then there's like the like box off John Cena level draws, and Cody Rhodes is one of them. Like he just is. When he's in the ring, it's must see, whether you hate his title reign, whether you love his title reign, whether you're in the middle of him, whether you're in the middle of it, like he draws the eyeballs, man, and he needs to be in the biggest matches in wrestling right now. And the biggest matches in wrestling are the main event of WrestleMania. And now you got two main events, which is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. He needs to be the champion going into WrestleMania on one of those main events facing somebody big. But I disagree. He is the champ. He's my champ, and I want him to stay.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to agree with you, but disagree with the sentiment. The only thing I think I could see him is maybe that, and it's fantasy booking out the wazoo, but drops it at Rumble to Orton to where you can, that would be the only thing that I would be okay with, is if he drops it to Orton. Anything else I feel like would be not smart.
Jacob for two.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like there's
he presents the belt to Solo.
And then he just does his little, yeah, I mean, I go back and forth because sometimes I do struggle with it, and I'm like, man, we need something to spice Cody up a little bit. I find myself thinking that. But then every single time, I texted it in the Discord yesterday, every time the music hits, every time Cody Rhodes comes out, I'm like, God, Cody's so cool. Every time.
The combination of just him looking like a freaking, he's like the creative superstar. Mm-hmm. Like in wrestling video, like if you were to create a superstar as a kid, like it probably looked sort of like Cody Rhodes in some way, like a dumb tattoo on your neck and over the top entrance with pyro and
and us being from America, like you had some sort of like USA color.
Wait, dude, that guy has America flag on. Yeah, that's where I'm from.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's some cool music, and I just feel like Cody's got that, for lack of a better term, he's got that aura, like you mentioned. Like it is different, and I don't know, maybe the people that just want to see him drop it, like, I don't know. Maybe they're just never happy.
Yeah.
Because my thing would be, who does he drop
Right.
it to?
Right.
Like, it would be Randy would be the only one.
Who on SmackDown that's not named Roman Reigns do you want carrying the belt? Who? Tell me. Like legitimately tell me. There's absolutely nobody. I love SmackDown. That's got some good talent, but like that level? No. Let's move it on. We're going to jump right back to Raw.
Come.
Raw being 2 hours or going to 2 hours is a terrible idea. Agree or disagree? I'm going to go first.
Oh, okay.
Strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. When it was first brought up, we gave our opinion as to the issues that may occur from it, which are there, right? They have such a strong mid-card that you're going to lose. You're going to lose time for people. You're not going to see them every week. Raw's women division gets critiqued a lot for not having a singles division. That now gets shrunk even more. So you do have that issues that they have to work out. Man, 2 hours of a wrestling show to me is just the sweet spot. And when it's good stuff like SmackDown this week, I mean, it feels like a breeze of 2 hours. And it feels like when it's done, it's just like, I felt like I watched a good movie. I didn't get too tired of it. Like it just felt like, wow, that was a great 2 hours of my life spent.
Yeah.
And sometimes at 3 hours, even though Raw's been great, but there are Raws where the 3 hours is not good. Right. And you are sitting there like, oh my God, we're halfway through this show. And it just is a slog. So I don't disagree. I disagree totally. I think the 2 hours is going to be a good move.
Yeah, I'm going to. Originally, I would have said I agree. I would have thought that it was a terrible decision. The more that I've thought about it, I'm going to disagree with that. I think there's a lot of time, and somebody had mentioned it, that there's kind of useless segments.
Yeah.
Whether they are promos or matches, the people go out there and they do a good job and they do entertain because we find ourselves liking Raw every week. There's a lot of backstage stuff. And like I said, some matches here or there you could cut out. You could kind of trim the fat. You could really make those shows action packed. You can make them big again. You can make them feel super important, fast paced, like you said, like a movie. I also think it's important for the spacing out of the rivalries. I kind of like it where, I mean, the roster is so big, but I kind of like it where like this week we get somebody and then like next week we get like a Braun Breaker, but then like maybe the next week we get like a Wyatt 6 thing. Like I kind of like spacing it out to where it's not like force fed every week. Sometimes I feel like they try to, you try to take a square peg into a round hole and you're like, you got to get this person on here. And so I think that, or at least I hope, with the time going down, that maybe the quality goes up and maybe it just drives it to be that much better.
I think it'll help the match quality too.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you guys don't watch it, they have Speed on Twitter or X or whatever once a week, and the matches are 3-minute matches, and they're always good because you can just get your spots in. And I'm not saying that I want Raw matches to turn into Speed matches, but it's like from the talent that I currently see WWE, younger talent that's working its way up, they seem to thrive in that sort of environment of like, we have 8-9 minutes to put on a great match here. And they seem to really thrive in that time range versus the old school wrestlers like Sheamus and Randy and Drew who seem to like to have the 25-minute, work a injury and work a story like fully in the match, which matches should have stories. I'm not saying get rid of matches and stories, right. But like I just think that the change is good for the wrestlers on the roster. I think that they're going to thrive there too.
Yeah, and for people that would push back and say like, well, what about those classics? You will get those classics. They will work on those in the performance center or backstage or whatever the case may be. And when you do get those matches, it's going to make them feel more important. It's
going to make PLE matches feel cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Raw here before and it works.
Yeah, and
it works.
Yeah, and I think it helps kind of like, as much as I want to sound like a boomer here, like it works with the generation. Like it's hard to keep people's time and attention right now. Like It just is. People are on their phones and the outside world, laptops, internet, whatever the case may be, other shows. Like it's just better that it's quick, it's fast paced, it's easy to watch.
Yeah, now move it up an hour too. Thank you. We're gonna do 3 more here.
Okay.
3 more. We're gonna do CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Majority of people in the comments say that should Drew McIntyre win this feud? Agree or disagree?
I'm gonna disagree. This is probably one I disagree with the most.
Really?
I am a firm believer that CM Punk should win this feud. I understand people are like, well, Drew needs something. He's been losing. But Drew's shown the ability to bounce back, and Drew just kind of picks up more steam. I mean, the last feud that we thought were like the Mania loss, like before they kind of started going into this. And even at Clash, it's like, man, how does he kind of recover? Like, I know it's all within the same feud, but tends to just keep kind of getting better.
Yeah.
It gives him more to kind of, it fits his character. He's like that whiny big heel. Like it just continues to fit. I also really hope we get that Drew McIntyre, Wade Barrett stuff. That's a guilty pleasure of mine. Punk first time back in 10 years or whatever. There's no way they're having him lose. I think it just wouldn't make any sense because where does he go? I think eventually we're going to get like a Punk Rollins Mania probably. They did hint at Punk Gunther, which that'll be great. Gunther will kill that man. They've already kind of hinted at that. So I just don't see any way that Punk comes back.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you know what? Especially with the crowd reaction.
Yeah.
If the crowd reaction was different and maybe it fell kind of flat on its face or it wasn't as good as it is, I'd say like, yeah, there's a chance Drew wins this. But with how great the crowd is being behind CM Punk, there's no chance.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and disagree as well. I understand the sentiment of people wanting Drew to win because it's like this guy comes back after 10 years, beats one of the best, one of the long reigning WWE guys, right? Right away. And, what would it do for Drew? Drew would have nothing after this and he would look weak and all of it makes sense. I get where you're coming from. From my point of view, it's just, it wouldn't. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, we are very strong on, like, how people look and how people are portrayed and how they're booked. And that is important. That's the point of wrestling, right? Like, that the story is the story, and that's what makes us come back and watch, and you need to make stars look like stars and all that stuff. But, like, to me, with Drew, it's just, like, he's putting on such great work. I'm sold on Drew. Like, whatever he does next, whether or not he loses in 5 seconds or they put on a hour-long classic inside that Hell in a Cell, I'm going to come out being like, okay, whatever Drew does next, I'm bought in and he's great and I'm down. While CM Punk has been gone for 10 years and we don't really, I'm not bought into the fact that Punk doing this for a long, long time. I know he signed a multi-year contract, but like, I'm not bought in for CM Punk having like another 7-year run in him, 5-year run in him. So like, if we're going to get the best out of CM Punk and get these title feuds that we want to see him with Seth Rollins and stuff like that, I think we should do it sooner rather than later with his age and his recent history of medical issues that comes with the ring. So let's just give him the win and try to get as many CM Punk, dream scenarios in while we can.
Yeah, and it also like it's kind of what happens to people in the workplace, right? You're so good at your job that I'm going to punish you, right? Like you're going to get more work.
Yeah, right.
Like Drew McIntyre has been so good that like there's nobody else on that roster that I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I want to see him fight Wade Barrett. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, he's been
Ricky.
that good. Yeah, bring back Ricky.
Couple more. These are going to be kind of stuff that we don't talk about very often, but we're going to say screw it because it's talked about in the comment sections. Triple H. It's the Paul Levesque era in WWE, as Michael Cole says every time he walks out, and as we all believe, and it's been great since. But he has been criticized for his handling of the women's division. More importantly, the singles competitor or the singles division in women's wrestling. Triple H, this is what the hot take says. Triple H doesn't know how to book the women's division. Agree or disagree?
Oh, I feel like this one's kind of loaded. I mean, if you look at it, I would say agree. Like if you look at just like the core facts where like the women's titles aren't being defended, I would say I agree. I also think though, at the same time, there needs to be some sort of curve, maybe. I mean, I would give him credit where he has tried to make the women's tag titles feel important. I also feel like he came in at a time where like we've had unfortunate injuries. I mean, people want Dakota Kai to get pushed. Dakota Kai's hurt. Charlotte's hurt. Becky kind of just retires or isn't retired or whatever the case may be. I do think he could do better with more emphasis on the titles. But it's also one of those things that like, that's kind of been what's suffering because it's like there is only so much time. So it's like as good as some of this stuff is, some of this stuff has to suffer. Unfortunately, it is the women's division. But I also think that he kind of has his hands tied behind his back because when you only have like 3 wrestlers, like 3 legitimate singles women's wrestlers on Raw, you got Zelina Vega, you got Liv Morgan, and you got Rhea Ripley. Now, I mean, obviously everybody else are in factions and they could branch off and have singles matches all they want. But we talk about maximizing the roster, getting people screen time. It's just really kind of a hard thing, but I would agree. But at the same time, I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree. Not a hard disagree. I understand all the sentiment that people are saying, but like you said, the hands tied behind the back is a great way to put it, because when he came in, like the women's tag team champions, the belts were literally gone they retired them for a little bit after inventing them, because WWE straight up did not know what to do with those. And now it seems like they've overcorrected, right? And the women's tag division is now the only thing in women's wrestling almost for Raw especially. I mean, It literally is. So you have that issue there. But in terms of Triple H booking the women, I think one of the main issues, and this is just me looking in, and I could be completely wrong, but me as a spectator, Triple H plays a long game with stories. That's just been proven throughout what he's done with title reigns, what he's done with stories in terms of like, we have multiple stories that are still continuing since WrestleMania. Like, that's a long, long, long time to have a story. Yeah. And when he came into this, there was nothing going on with any of there's no great stories going on, mainly because of injuries and stuff. So he's had to try to build long-term stories out of nothing. And that just takes time. And you're not going to get a ton of women's singles action from it. Like the Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley stuff, that was going to be a long story from the get-go, and then it becomes a longer story because she gets injured. And it's like, well, that was the plan, and those are the two top stars, and we're going to stick to it. Yeah. That's just going to end up being a 6-month long time feud with not really much going on in the middle of it. Sorry. Yeah. And so I do think it's tied behind your back, but I agree in the fact of he could do better. He could do better. Yeah. Chelsea Green should be getting matches pretty regularly. Tiffany should be getting matches more regularly than she does. Lyra Valkyria, stuff like that. Like, we should just be getting some more singles matches from just people that should be wrestling. But he's such a story guy that gets in the way. It's two things hitting each other, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I agree with like the take, but it's not like it's like a 52-48. Yeah. Like, I'm kind of like, but also like it's not heavy. Yeah. I do think some of the factions could have been booked a little bit better.
PFC.
Yeah, it's the first one that kind of comes to mind. Damage Control kind of puts on good matches. They're also in a weird spot because of the injuries that I feel like they don't really know what to do with them. So it's kind of like unfortunate timing with a lot of the stuff, but there is also things that could have been done better.
Agreed. Controversial. Last one.
And on a high note here. Okay.
Hey, viewer said this. I didn't say it.
No.
AEW. We never talk about it.
We don't.
We keep track of AEW. It's just, at this point, our podcast is not 100% of our time, right? We have jobs, and so we normally do WWE stuff, but we do keep track of AEW. And whenever anything is said about AEW, man, oh man, fire.
Yeah, both sides.
Yeah, it gets caught up in fire.
The lines are drawn in the sand.
So the hot take is that AEW is dead. Agree or disagree?
I'm gonna.
What are you gonna say?
I'm gonna agree with this one.
Oh wow!
I dead in terms of like, I guess they're not going out of business tomorrow,
right?
But in terms of like, AEW has done what they wanted to do. They've kind of catered to that core group, the people that really like their stuff. If you do, awesome. If you don't, also awesome. It's really, what do you like? For me, AEW's been around for, God, how many years now? 5 years?
5 or 6, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
They just have shown like an inability to kind of move the needle and grow. They kind of don't also really have any like mainstream steam to kind of help, even from time to time, where there's crossover that you kind of need in wrestling. Because like I said, the core people are watching it, but you look at the numbers are down week after week. I feel like the stars are getting older over there. They've kind of had an inability to develop some new stars. There are some from time to time. I will give them that, but it makes it tough. Like, I had a friend actually text me yesterday. I didn't tell you this. And he said he watched Rampage after SmackDown. And he's like, there's nobody in these seats. And there's matches are okay. They're fine. They seem off a tick. And Rampage has always kind of been like that development kind of to Dynamite the way NXT is. But overall, I just feel like there's no buzz. I feel like if you like AEW, you like AEW. And there's really like people have gotten set in their opinions, their thoughts. And I feel like they're kind of stuck in ways of like, I don't know how you shift those people that don't want to watch AEW to watch AEW.
Yeah, everything you said has meaning. So in terms of the hot take of AEW being dead in the water, I'm going to disagree. I get the sentiment for it again. I agree, but I wouldn't call it dead. I would say this is what AEW is. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, WWE just has the monopoly when it comes to professional wrestling mainstream attention. Like they're just such a conglomerate. Like, of course, when these new wrestling promotions that have some steam behind them, when they get started, like everybody's like, oh yeah, they're gonna take down the machine, and they get a bunch of steam at the beginning. But like WWE's on another level. Yeah. They just are. Like you said, like anything Roman Reigns does gets put on freaking ESPN. Like I'm seeing ESPN talk about it before I'm seeing WWE's app talk, like social media talking about it. So this is just what AEW is, and it's not bad. Like that's the thing, is that like people, I feel like the war is going on between the numbers, and it's like, oh well, these numbers are terrible, and it went down by 0.1% this week. They're on their complete downfall, and then the AEW lovers are like, no, we're just gonna bounce back at the next pay-per-view event, and it's gonna be amazing. And it's like, how about you just enjoy the numbers you're at now, because they're not terrible. They're not. It's not awful. Like, they're going to get TV deals. They continue to get TV deals. They're going to be a staying promotion. Yeah. As long as you want. It's just a matter of, do people think it's dead because it's not on the level of WWE anymore? If that's the case, then of course. But it's never going to be it's never going to be there again. It just isn't. And when it comes to like the pictures online of them with empty arenas, they don't help themselves out because they book big arenas. Stop booking big arenas. When they come to town here in Kansas, they choose a smaller little hockey stadium that fits AEW perfectly. And we go there, and it's like mostly crowded, and it's loud, and it feels great when we're there, and it's a fun time. Versus when WWE come here, they book the Sprint Center. They book the biggest arena that we have, and they do a good job there. Yeah. And that's just different there. It's just big brother, little brother kind of. And so I wouldn't call it dead. Everything you said about the Stars are true. But I just think AEW is what it is, and it's good.
Yeah, and I think that's probably... That's kind of what I'm saying as well. Yeah, so we're kind of saying the same thing. Yeah. It's just more of, when you say dead, what is dead to you? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, to me, like, they never reached the Nitro level, the WCW level. They're not going to get there. So when you think about that, like, that thought is dead to me. But like you said, they are what they are. It's enjoyable. I mean, there's still good stuff on there from time.
Here's the thing. What's also key that I think people don't realize is luck is such a big deal. Like, when WWE became mainstream media, like Hulk Hogan, and then Hulk Hogan directly led into guys like The Rock and Stone Cold and Bret Hart, like Shawn Michaels, like they just got lucky also in terms of like the characters and the personnel just coming there with all the charisma in the world. And like, you kind of need, and like when WWE had its first real big fiasco when it came to like the steroid abuse and The Rock and everybody leaving in the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression era, like they stumbled upon a John Cena to get him out of that. Like, AEW hasn't struck a John Cena, hasn't struck a Hulk Hogan, and I love MJF to death. MJF's my boy. Love Hangman, love Kenny. Yep. I know Kenny doesn't wrestle very much anymore, and hopefully he comes back. But like, we love all those guys, but they don't have the John Cena poking into the mainstream guy. And
you have like Swerve has done some really good stuff over there.
I mean, their wrestling is phenomenal.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. Like you said, luck is a thing, because like you think about it, AEW was still trying to get off the ground, and then the COVID stuff happened. Yes. And as much as we want to talk about like, we're not getting political. I don't, so I don't want to hear that. But like, wrestling is about people coming to see your stuff. The crowd, we talk about it with Raw and SmackDown, the crowd makes your show or breaks your show at times. Whether you could have a 5-star card top to bottom, but if the crowd's kind of dead, you're like, oh man, that wasn't really that good. So for them to try to do that as well, like, that didn't help anything either. So luck is a big part of it. They don't help themselves out with some of their decisions either. We get that, but if you like it, you like it. And I just want people as a whole to like, if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But can't we all just get along?
We should get along, because the product that you've seen in the WWE, the rise in the product has been because of AEW. Like, competition brings out the best in you. That was the point. Like the Attitude Era happened out of competition. Raw is war. And this recent 4 or 5 seemingly up, just WWE going to another level over the past 4 or 5 years it was 100% a direct, coming from AEW being competition. I like it just was.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're a big WWE guy, stop shitting on AEW because they helped you out. And if you're a big AEW guy, stop, trying to take down the machine because it's not happening. Just enjoy wrestling because wrestling is great.
And it's not happening because like without WWE, there's no AEW. So like, you know what I mean? Like it just.
Yeah, where else are you going to get your stars? Anyway.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. We love it all. Anyway, those were viewer hot takes. So I guess that was your guys' stuff. Thank you so much for that. Keep commenting on all of our stuff. We absolutely love it. And speaking of our stuff, follow us on all of our socials at codwrestlepod, COD WrestlePod. Listen to our podcast wherever you want to, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, etc. Join our Discord. We have a hot take section to come drop hot takes in that. Fun stuff. Link tree in bio. As always, I'm Will. That's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time.